do we have anybody attending via Zoom?
We do not.
Okay. So are you Jacob?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. I think we should go ahead and start.
Should we introduce ourselves just for the?
Sure, yeah. Let's introduce ourselves, and our audience members could also introduce themselves. I'll start. I'm Richard Mengy. I'm the chair of the planning board.
And I'm Tim Cook, I'm vice chair.
I'm Vicki Smith, I live on Market Street, and I'm a plain old member.
I'm Nat Niles, I live on Clover Mill, and I'm a member.
David Kahn, and I'm on the select board, I'm sitting by virtue of that.
I'm Dave Robbins, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Hebe Quinton, I live on Shoestrap Road, and I'm an alternate.
My name is Rich Brown, I'm an alternate, and I live on the Orford Road, right across from Post Farm.
I'm Jacob Terrio, I'm a licensed land surveyor representing the project tonight. Thank you very much for that full introduction. I don't normally get that, so it makes me feel right at home.
Good. And you are
I'm Jolene Burgess, but I go by Jerry,
Jerry
and I
Burgess.
live over on Bliss Lane, and I am in a butter.
Well, this is the first thing on our agenda, and what I think we should do is, Jacob, if you could maybe just introduce the project to us, the purpose, what's gonna be accomplished as a result of this. And then we have a checklist for lot line adjustments that I think we should go through to make sure it's complete. And then we can take action if it's complete, I guess. So the floor is yours, Jacob. And yeah, feel free to come up, and Jerry, if you wanna pull a chair up so you can see better, we could probably also get a set of plans down there.
They're up in the.
Yeah, so we're up
Oh,
on the
they're up.
TV.
Oh, okay, terrific.
The one on the TV is actually color coded, so I'm gonna go ahead and point at that one if you don't mind. I do have another one I can set up on a podium if that's easier.
This is the color, I think.
Right, I have the color one as well, printed out if,
Oh.
whichever is easier.
Jerry, can you see this all right?
Yep, I can go up and down.
Okay, great.
All right, so my name is Jake, land surveyor with HB Engineers. We are contracted with the Park Service to complete a boundary survey of properties that they are in process of an exchange with Bear Hill Conservancy Trust. There are other properties within Lyme that are part of that exchange, but we're here today to review this boundary line adjustment between 3 tax lots. And I would like to just go down through each of the tax lots, identify the piece that's moving from which lot and then which lot it ends up with. So the first tax lot is 33.2, and so that's this green piece that wraps around is 33.2.
That's existing.
That's existing, yep, so this color coding is before the boundary line adjustment.
And that's owned by,
That's owned by Bear Hill Conservancy Trust,
okay.
David Road. So that property is 505.6 acres. And we are proposing to subtract 2 pieces from that property. There's a 5-acre property here, relatively a square. And then there is a 93.75 acre property here, that we're gonna subtract. And then we're going to add to this property above this dark line and around on the yellow. So revert to this line here is gonna be extinguished, so that this is the property, and then this line gets extinguished, so that's basically the full property. And there'll be property line there, property line there. These two properties, which are going to the Park Service, there are already existing easements on both of them for the Appalachian Trail. So the boundary lines that are there are pre-existing easement lines that would be becoming boundary lines through this process. So that's the first property that's owned by Bear Hill Conservancy Trust, but I did touch on the 3 parcels that are moving. Are there any questions of this? Yep.
What is the point of the little square?
When the Park Service originally acquired this tract and then this tract, the Wagners would only grant an easement on these 2 pieces, and what's outside of that area was identified on the original Appalachian Trail segment maps as the proposed corridor. So that square was slated to be purchased in the original, but then they couldn't purchase, so they just got an easement. So now it has an easement on it, and if, no, I won't. It's just a piece that ends up on the opposite side of Tyler Hill Road. So it's sort of cut off from this property. That's kind of why it
And
was separate.
that island in the middle, that's all Bear Hill?
It's also Bear Hill, but the properties are not merged.
Except for one, there's Ethan Ball, one is.
Yes, right, yep, so that's even one of these smaller ones.
Right, that's
Yep,
the only one that I know of that
yep,
is not owned by Mr. Roby.
yep,
Thank you.
yes.
Okay.
So then the second tax lot, is tax lot 46.3, which is this property here. And this square would be combined with that. So currently, this square is 10.6 acres. This piece that's coming off of the Bear Hill property is 5.02 acres to make a total after of 15.6 acres. So that's one lot going there for the Park Service, and then the second Park Service lot is all of this side of yellow. That currently is 579 acres. We're gonna subtract this piece to go to Bear Hill. That was 323, but then we're going to add this piece to that property. So this line here is gonna be dissolved, so the boundary will come down this, up Tyler Hill and back. The total acreage of this piece, when it's finished, is 349.79 acres. Any questions there?
So, after all is said and done, the new parcel, if you will,
Yep.
is the green that slopes down and to the right, and then the new, and then the brown that slopes up all the way.
So,
Do you want me to go to the?
yep, we can go to the next one.
So,
So now,
this
so
plus
this
this
is what it
is-
will look like in the end. So the Park Service
Yes.
owns a full corridor that supports the Appalachian Trail, and David Roby ends up with the remainder of the land. It was noted that the acreage isn't necessarily balanced. Doesn't have to be, there are appraisals involved with this process as well, but there are two other properties that total, 144 additional acres, that are going to the Park Service kind of as for consideration, so. So that's an after.
Okay. And just so I'm clear here, is that all, the entire Brown property, is that gonna be one parcel now? Or is that two parcels?
It's two at Tyler Hill Road,
Yes, okay.
so this is the existing tax lot up to there, and then this is 11-6.
Actually, I believe it's three, because don't you have that smaller lot? Right.
Yeah, right,
Ah, okay,
yeah, so
all right.
that's one, this is two, and that's
All right.
three. Yep.
Yep.
They already done.
So is Tyler Hill Road a road?
No, it's just,
Just
Yeah.
continue.
just continue
Is it
road.
a class 6 or?
I don't know the status of it.
It says New Hampshire snowmobile corridor.
Yeah.
It's a grown-up class 6 road, it's not a class 6.
It's not a class 6.
No.
Just a trail,
It's gone.
snowmobile trail.
Is it maintained by the snowmobile club?
I think so.
David Roby does some maintenance on it,
That is required.
I'm drawing a blank on his first name, Ben
Ben
Killen.
Killen?
Is.
Yeah,
He
that's-
does some maintenance out there, and then as well as the Snow Machine Club, as we were trying to find access to these places, talk to everybody. So,
Ben does a lot of the work with his bears out.
Yeah,
Up
but
there.
it doesn't.
yeah,
Doesn't matter.
yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing as true, this one's getting a lot.
So when this is,
No more.
if this gets approved and it's done, then this is gonna be one lot here,
Yep,
one lot to this point,
nope,
one lot to this point.
this is already one, we're not looking at this one, it's just that portion up to here. So it's 1, 2,
So it's a second lot starting here.
yeah,
Okay.
from Tyler Hill Road,
Okay.
which is the
And then
existing
this is the
boundary.
third lot.
Tyler Hill Road is the existing boundary between these two properties, because right now, this is owned by Bear Hill.
Seems like. Yeah, it's a great deal for the Park Service too. Yeah. I think it's, Legion, I think it's, they already had easements, right, so. Right, and I think they like to own,
It definitely liked it.
This is where the new government housing is gonna be coming.
Yeah,
They're gonna transfer a lot of people from DC up.
Yeah,
with a view of the AT.
yeah.
There's some shelters around there.
You're gonna have to hike in.
Yes, the Trapper John shelter, it's,
So, I have a, problem with, the shorthanding of the owners' names on the front sheet. Because where you have Roby here for 1310, that's David Roby, and where you have Roby here for 409, 4.3, it's Barbara Roby.
yep.
So,
And the first sheet is only meant to be sort of a large index. The remaining 3 sheets get into the full detail of the full abutter name, their deed references, and all of the boundary information. The front sheet doesn't even have bearings or distances.
right, okay.
It's really just to show you how the property goes together. Because of the size of this,
Yep.
we're actually at 500 scale on this first sheet.
Mm-hmm,
And then 250 scale on the next 3 sheets.
mm-hmm.
If you start, actually, that was my next thing, we had to request a waiver
Yep.
to be at 250 scale
Yep.
because going to 100 just didn't make sense for the acreage.
Mm-hmm.
You would have seen an entire page of blank.
Right, well, then, is there some way where you could put index sheet on here? Cause this is the exact same legend, it says boundary line adjustment plan. And a lot of times people don't necessarily go to anything but the top sheet. Is this gonna be recorded?
It'll all be recorded.
It'll all be
There's,
recorded. But you-
where there's no bearings and distances on this front sheet,
Mm-hmm,
they can't just use it. It forces you to the other pages to get the information, is from a surveyor's perspective.
yet you've stamped this.
Yep,
Like as though it were a survey, so.
it is.
Okay, that's my personal problem. I have another little problem here is the lack of monumentation on this boundary here. You don't know where that line starts or stops. And even just rotating it to this existing monument and that existing monument would help me a lot, because otherwise we're in limbo. And the fact that it's the same owner, it's like, well, why can't we just make that a real line instead of a line that's in flux out in space?
So this is the line that's been shown since the Park Service took the properties from the original Appalachian Trail.
Mhm.
The monument at the end there, is at the same location as it was then.
Mhm.
All we've been able to find for evidence now is 2 spots of barbed wire along that line.
Mhm.
So second waiver is complete perimeter
I
survey.
understand, but, yeah.
Because that property is getting larger by the increased acreages of 225 acres, I guess we're not changing anything
I understand
there.
you're not, but it, you know, in that this is involved, why wouldn't we want to try to get this clear where that boundary line is? Cause it's, I mean, the monument's there, it just has to be rotated.
are no monuments there.
Well,
We can't move.
what's this right here? This.
Those
line?
are other monuments up those lines. Where the boundary is shown is where it should be. We can't just move it.
Okay, well, in that we're doing boundary line adjustments or, you know, whatever,
But
and these are
we're-
the same owners.
But we're not doing a boundary line adjustment with 41020 now.
Where is that line up here on this one?
It's,
This
yeah,
green line here.
it just, it doesn't, it's out in space, there's no
Yeah.
anchor to it, and unless, is the barbed wire that you're finding at either end?
Can we flip to
Yep,
the 4th
Yeah.
sheet?
yep.
So, we have not, as part of the waiver for a complete perimeter survey of tax lot 33.2, we have not shown bearings and distances on the complete property for Bear Hill Conservancy Trust. That property is getting larger, and it, as consistently with every other line that's not in common with the Park Service, we haven't shown bearings and distances. We've shown found monumentation, and based on plan references from previous surveys, that's the best representation of that line, to this point.
So this is the line you're talking about, right?
Correct,
Vicki?
yep, yep.
And this is,
There's no way to find it in the field if you're out
Right.
there. So that's my problem, is that,
So you're saying you wanna get rid of that line?
it's
I'm just
over
saying,
here.
it's like, why can't it be rotated so that it's going to existing monuments? No new monuments have to go, it's just that it would then be anchored in space somewhere rather than floating out in the field.
So what does that boundary do? Is that, it doesn't divide?
Divides, yeah,
It does
divides
divide,
33.2.
but it's
two
two
separate
Because,
lots.
because
It's two
they're not
separate
proposing to
David
merge this
Roby's
lot in it, and
lot.
that's, I
Correct.
think that's the
Well,
concern
no,
is-
I don't want them to be merged, I just want this boundary to exist, and right now, there's
yeah,
no
it's-
anchors.
It's not surveyed.
Well, it's not.
There
Well,
are no boundaries.
There's no
Sure.
place to know where that line is.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's surveyed to the best of your ability.
Right,
Yeah.
it's,
Well, no, it's not. It's not surveyed.
Well, there's nothing to certain, we're not gonna go find a monument.
There's no monument,
Is-
so that's why I'm saying, why not just rotate it so that
I
it goes
think
from that one to that one?
That would be
and
a
we're all
separate
done.
discussion for David Roby
Mhm.
to bring both of these two lots, 33.2 and 20, to the planning board for a boundary line adjustment to confirm, or actually, that would be a boundary line agreement
Yeah, that's right.
for him to agree, but that would only be the case if he was trying to sell one. Where he's gonna own them both,
It's kind of a moot point.
he's getting taxed on both, he's getting,
Right,
yes.
right.
There, it would only be if he was going to sell it, that he wouldn't have the description to be able to sell it based
And
on.
there's nothing requiring a in a sale that would require a survey, so if we want one, now would be an appropriate time.
I just, having worked in a lot out in the woods and, you know, being able to find locations and, it's just,
And
you know,
the
and-
boundary is being extinguished between
no, not this boundary.
you. Right,
Just the top,
immediately
yeah.
immediately above it, the boundary is
Yeah.
being extinguished. So you're gonna have,
To make this part of it.
But, which is just making David Roby's property bigger.
Right.
We're not introducing this, that line is a problem currently, prior, and it will still be after this boundary line adjustment. We're not changing anything about that line.
So what about the other boundaries? I mean, are these all, it looks like these are pinned.
Yep, survey.
This one
So there's an
doesn't look like,
there's an old road there that, comes from, the end of Bear Hill Lane and comes through. And this deed reference is to the, sorry, I gotta get my bearings right, east side of that road.
Uh-huh.
The monument is set on the, really can't do it upside down. On the west side, so that rebar is being held for the line, but it's actually offset to the opposite side of the road, so right now it looks like it's off.
so this doesn't have a bearing in distance. A lot of these
Correct.
lines don't have bearings in
We've
distance.
withheld bearings and distance on everything that, basically, we're not changing. It's, everything on the remainder of the Bear Hill Conservancy property that was 505 acres and will be becoming 730, we have not shown bearings and distances on it.
I just tell you that when you look at the total land in acres of the town, this kind of stuff can make you crazy because it goes up and down 40 acres a year. And it's like, who's creating and destroying land? And it's all because of these little boundary problems.
So I have a question, Rich. Has anybody looked at the dimensional controls on this? In particular, House 511C, which talks about building lot depth and width. How does that apply to this new lot? Is that anything?
I looked at the lot sizes, I think that the lot depth width, there could be issues with the, this lower corridor. But it's,
Protected
right, I don't, you know,
easements and can't be built on already.
right, there are easements on it to prevent building.
Park Service.
Okay. Maybe that's what I'm reading, because I did actually just mark off the width. And it looks like it's an average width on the paper of 2.9 inches, and looks like it's about 22 inches long, which comes out to a ratio of 8 to 7.9. And the ordinance, though, says building lot depth shall not exceed. does that rule this out?
I would rule it out because of the easements that are already on the land. It's not going to be a building lot.
Okay, I see. Okay.
On, back to sheet 4, are you gonna be leaving the monument, this one here?
Yes, the Park Service signage
Mhm.
will be removed, but the monumentation will remain.
So the little cap that says 196 NH,
Will still be there.
that'll still be there?
Yep.
I was curious about that. So you're talking about something that's referred to in the index, Appalachian Trail Standard Monument.
Yes.
So I'm unfamiliar with those, but it seems like if that's no longer gonna be on Appalachian Trail property, that would wanna be removed.
That's the government's call on their standard procedure. They still will refer to this as a tract, even though it's gonna be sold. Because they owned it for a time, it was monumented, and they don't want the monumentation removed on the property. They want the signage taken down, which we're contracted to do that, with the monuments.
Seems like they're
It
not,
just,
they're
you
not
know,
really
okay.
selling the property if they're still retaining rights
Yeah,
to.
it's just, you know, when you're out in the field, you don't really know where you are, and then
Well,
you
it's-
run into that. and
they're-
you go, oh,
they're
that's where
just-
the boundary
It's
is.
just an aluminum property corner, it's not, like any further rights to have,
I mean, does it say,
they have an
Is it
AT
ident-
symbol.
They're inscribed on the top, they're little metal pieces
Yeah.
that will have this, and each of them has a discrete, number. This 196 is the segment, New Hampshire 200, you know, so.
I mean, it just seems kinda confusing that, why would one leave that up if it was,
I mean, I would think
if
if the
it was
government,
transferred?
yeah, if the government wanted it removed, I'm sure they would be happy to take it down.
Isn't it,
Well, I would-
it's
I would
like
think
a
it'd be more-
benchmark, isn't it?
No, look, it kinda looks
It's
like a
set-
benchmark, but it's
yeah.
not set in, they're usually up on these
I mean-
aluminum pegs, kind of, that,
Right.
yeah, the benchmark's usually embedded in
Yeah.
the rock.
I mean, is it like a USGS one that has a lat and longitude and
No, these are
elevation?
just property corners, and
No.
if they weren't AT monuments, in any other boundary line scenario, we would never pull a prior monument, because that helps recreate a boundary down the
Yeah.
road, it's history.
Yeah.
So, just because these are AT doesn't, in my mind, mean any reason for them to be removed. They're still the boundary between these two properties that David could subdivide this back to that line if he wanted to someday. I don't think he will, but those monuments could be used for that.
Are those monuments referenced on other plans?
On the original Appalachian Trail monument.
So looking
trail
back in the
plans.
history, having them there, you would be able to, track the history of the property, knowing that that was
Is this
marked on
because
another map.
Right,
Bear Hill,
Yep.
this is
Right.
Bear Hill,
yeah,
so
those were
this-
set,
this line
in 1992,
is going-
when the Appalachian Trail marked the corridor.
Uh-huh.
I just had one other thing in your list of, people, the Kelmarks' property addresses, is in Endicott, New York, instead of on Dorchester Road. I think this is an error that,
Yep, and I did catch that, and it was sent to the correct
Okay.
address. As long, also you have Tom Ball, for the Ball property, and it's Ethan, it's the, his son.
Tom's father,
Tom's father, Ethan is the son,
okay.
but the address is the same.
and then I just wondered, does the town really use Tyler Hill Road as a property address if it's not a real road?
No,
Because that,
It shows up in vision.
Yeah.
it doesn't show up in vision?
Yeah,
okay.
for these vacant properties, it does. address.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's a property address, then yes, it could be,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I was thinking mailing address.
yeah, no, yeah, cause Tyler Hill Road's in here, and it's like, well, it's not really a road, why are we using it to locate things?
It's like East Street. East Street is not really a road anymore, but there's still properties that are, the address for the property is off of East Street.
Except it's,
Talk to
yeah, I know.
the tax assessor
Yep,
and
yep.
that's, I have no control over how they've been that way for,
Well, it
years
doesn't
and
mean that
years.
it's correct, I mean, if the town has no right for the public to travel on those roads anymore, it's not a valid thing. But anyway, okay,
So Vicki, would it address your concerns about the labeling on the overall piece if it was, just had a different,
if that just an index plan for,
yes,
yeah, that's fine. And then
and everything else is more detailed?
yeah, yeah, and I like the fact that, you
Can
know,
I go with like overall boundary line adjustment plan?
sure,
Okay,
yeah.
that's more
And
typical.
then, you know, the fact that I like that the monuments have their little numerical tags on this one here, because, that's where you figure out what they are, and you need to do the right one. I used to do the monitoring of this,
Yeah.
and,
A lot of bushwhacking.
it's a lot, this is a very steep slope,
Yeah.
and the other end of it's really, really wet, so.
Yes.
I mean,
Towards
yeah, toward Goose Pond, I mean,
Yes.
so it's crazy, cause I've been all around this, and, yeah, it's a very difficult property.
Feels like two different places,
Well, yeah, it's upland and wetland,
but not that far apart.
yeah.
So I'm still unclear as to why a pin can't be set there, so that one could find that, and a pin could be set here, so that one could find that.
We aren't changing that line, so in common with the rest of the lines that we're not changing, we weren't adding monumentation, anywhere else. We've been contracted by the Park Service, so the new monumentation that we've set on this new line, are all that standard aluminum, with the AT symbol on it.
I think the monumentation of that line would be kind of outside the scope of the project. This is private property for David Roby that has nothing to do with, other than showing the boundary getting extinguished between the two. So I think it's really outside the scope of the project to be putting monumentation in a line that is pre-existing, that's not changing.
Does it say anywhere here that you, didn't survey, you know, all the other lines?
Yes. I believe it's 5
So on the cover
first
sheet?
sheet, yeah.
Well, no, your field surveying was only performed on the new lines dividing, the lots. All other boundary lines are compilation plan references and do not represent a complete boundary survey by engineer.
So, where is that, tax lot 414?
That's the Park-
66?
That's the Park Service, piece.
It's the original, this one.
Big one.
So we surveyed all of the big one currently, because we're creating a new piece there. The two smaller pieces, HEB did the work for the Park Service in 1992. So those are the plan references, our own work from that
Okay.
time. So they are surveyed, but 32 years ago. And all the money. Yeah, all the monumentation is still there, we did reconfirm all that monumentation.
So is there a difference between these grayed out monuments and the darker ones?
Yes, the Park Service standard is to have line monuments set every 500 feet along the line. That's only a Park Service standard. So there's no other boundary statute that requires that. Those, the lighter gray are on-line monuments. In previous Park Service, they call them exterior corridor boundary surveys. They would all be shown at the same significance. To surveyors who aren't used to working with it, they will hold those on-line monuments as the correct corners, but sometimes they can be off. So really, the controlling monuments are the ends of the lines, the ones that are bold. And if a surveyor was working up against this, they should be surveying those endpoints. And the other ones are just for reference for the Appalachian Trail Conservancy staff as they're clearing and remarking and repainting the lines. So they're just out there for reference.
So, looking at this sheet two, I think I would like to see something that indicates the lines that were surveyed at the, a note that just indicates that that would be, that was surveyed in whenever it was surveyed.
So putting the plan reference that it was part of the
Putting that reference
1992.
on this specific sheet, so if somebody doesn't have to go to the index sheet to understand what that.
You want the legend repeated.
Well, no, I want a note, the notes, because I think,
On that sheet,
yeah,
on the cover sheet.
on the cover sheet, I think,
The
note,
legend is,
note 5 is,
Yeah.
but the legend shows that that line has been surveyed.
oh, the,
Here.
this dark
Yeah,
surveyed property line.
yep, that's,
We have surveyed both ends of this, we did GPS this and we did GPS that, we just have not located all the online monuments. So there's the bigger picture, we have done the control work to survey that, but not ground traverse to locate all of the extra. That's based on the plan reference.
It seems like maybe you would wanna have part of your legend to indicate, the darker ones are, whatever they are, Forest Service monument found as opposed to, ones that aren't.
The grayed out is only the ones that are online for reference. All the rest are, we'll say, created equal, as far as property corners go. They're
Yeah,
all
so I mean,
standard.
I think I'd like to see, I don't think would be out of the ordinary to have a legend that indicates property boundaries set or found. And then the gray one, this is, you would just have a different designation for it. But, I mean, you as a surveyor know this, but this is a public document, and I don't think you need to have to be a licensed surveyor familiar with Forest Service surveys to be able to, you shouldn't have to be that knowledgeable to be able to
Right.
read the plan and understand what it is. And to not be disappointed when you go out there and go, oh geez, I can't find a lot of these.
If you can't find that line, no offense, it's like a 10-foot wide yellow highway.
Yeah,
All the Park Service lines are a little overkill.
yeah.
But my hesitation would be everything on this plan, like you said, is from that plan reference, we've surveyed the ends of it, but that would be all set in 1992. The new line that divides lot 66, we just finished setting those in October.
But you I think
That's
you've said
found.
that all the dark ones are found, right?
They're all found.
Well, but and the light ones are there too.
The light ones are there.
are present. Maybe, Rich, what would help would just be to have a distinction in the legend here to say the dark ones are real corner boundaries. The other ones, we just kind of put there so that, I mean, there's
Yeah,
a
right.
little more precise
Correct.
terminology.
Inline monumentation.
But-
Yeah.
In line, yeah,
Right,
Would that satisfy you, Rich?
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Something,
okay.
something to
Further
that
explanation
effect,
of
it
that.
just,
Just
Seems-
another entry in the legend.
yeah, exactly.
What is the, solid line with 3 dots? It runs around the T on this.
What sheet are you
I'm gonna
on?
sneak
On the
around
cover
and-
sheet.
Cover- yeah,
On the
right.
cover sheet. There's this solid line with 3 dots.
Stream, different streams.
Nothing. Nothing says here.
Yeah, less valuable, I guess, water course. If we go,
Well, you
and
know,
that's,
I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that must be a secondary trail.
and that's like past, right, this is our last property,
Mhm.
so we're, I guess there is a stream here that crosses
Yeah.
the boundary.
Is there any legend on that?
No, there's only legend on the front.
Okay, yeah.
I don't, I guess some of these
Yeah.
look a little more like a water course at the smaller scale, it's a little more obvious, but I can definitely add that to the legend.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know.
Good. Rich, I had a question too, to go back to the cover sheet.
Shelter.
If this boundary is extinguished, how are 4, 10, 16 separated from 20? How's that gonna work?
Like, me to answer that, or is that?
I'm asking the
Okay.
chair, but yes, if you
Yeah.
do.
I would say it's the same way that it is today. There's
that-
basically nothing out there, there were
that
2
weird-
pieces of barbed wire, not in a straight line on the side of the
I
mountain.
see, and so, because it's all Bear Hill, they just agreed it's still gonna remain the same. That this edge, the edge of this parcel will remain, is that?
Right, so this is the line, the endpoint here, this line was shown on the 1992
Yes.
plans, as coming into that point, that distance away. So we're holding that location to the best of our
Okay.
ability, and there is
Right.
also a plan reference, of this lot here that shows the line leaving from there, so we're
Okay.
recreating
Right.
it.
And I realize, yes, okay, I know the answer now, thank you.
All right, of course.
Looked at that picture too.
Jerry, I'm wondering if you have any questions, whether you're as confused as we are?
My biggest problem is I know the area pretty well, especially right there where I live.
Uh-huh.
And I live on Bliss Lane. And it looks like if you find Bliss Lane, you go across and up, and if you come into a little diamond-shaped piece.
Yep.
To me, that road should be Pico. But then again, Goose Pond Road is way over there.
See, they haven't, he's, Bliss Lane isn't shown all the way. Doesn't Bliss Lane stop and become class 6 after the?
Where it
when-
crosses over the brook, you go down across the field, and crosses a brook, and you come out over on Goose Pond Road.
Mhm.
That gap.
It's Pico.
That's how the tax maps show that stretch of,
Of the.
Because it doesn't
This
actually go-
section up to that corner is Pico.
No,
I don't know.
that goes on, off of,
It's gonna be off the sheet.
Off of Baker
It's-
Hill Road.
I think
Cause it's,
the road
those
goes
are our
past her house and.
dashed lines.
Becomes
It's
class 6, that's
kinda
her house, no?
too far away. Access into anything there is off of Bliss Lane or Bailey Hill.
right,
So it doesn't really, it's not affected in any way anyway, so.
No.
so what's dividing the Jewel property there? Is that an old class 6 road?
Jewel property is up here.
Yeah, see up here, Jewel?
Yes.
So there's another class 6 road up there?
That, there's a plan reference.
Pico comes off and then curves around Baker Hill, and as it goes to the right, that's Bliss Lane.
That, I'm not sure of the road status on that
Right,
corridor.
I don't think it's a class 6, but.
I know that the plan reference of that Jewel property,
Mhm.
from 1999 for Ed Wagner, was of that, pointed piece that
Mhm,
kind of
mhm.
fit in between.
Yep,
So it agrees
yep,
with,
so it straddles a former town road. Do you know what that one is, Jerry?
I'm not following where you're looking. I'm not in authority.
Well,
This is
but you've
Woodlawn.
been in the neighborhood a while, so here's your place, and you go up past Woodard's here, and then the road divides. But then there looks like another road.
Okay, if you go up here, this would have been the old Derby Road.
this is
Oh, that's Derby
corner
Road.
there, yeah.
So that's where
Yeah.
Derby
It's not Derby
Yeah.
Road now.
Oh,
They didn't
okay.
name
Meg's,
Oh, okay.
the Derby Road.
Right, right, and that goes up. to
Oh,
I
okay.
think she came in.
I was coming
Yeah,
from
okay,
somewhere.
okay.
And this one over here would come over to the Bailey
This
place.
is this,
Mhm.
yeah, so this is this 90-degree corner on Bliss Lane. That goes out across a wetland.
Well, Tyler, they
Beaver
went
ball.
down here, going up.
Is that here?
Yes.
They'll probably put
Yep.
it in.
Yeah.
It's good, like, has David's house, and it's just another Bliss Lane.
So is it,
Short time to
where's
do so.
Dave's house?
Right.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
know,
it's
but,
just-
yeah. Okay,
David's
thank
house.
you.
That's why I was looking
Yeah.
at.
So,
So
and
that's-
he's on
yeah,
the
Bliss
older.
Lane.
Correct, Bliss Lane goes this way, and
Oh,
then
so it's not
Pico is
Cheryl?
up here.
Oh, okay, that's
It's,
fine.
it's
So it's further
too
up.
far away.
Pico is
Yeah,
further up.
right.
Okay.
Yes, Pico is that way.
Yeah.
Yep,
And
our,
this,
our GPS base station's in his front yard.
I thought when you came off of Goose Pond Road, you went this way.
This isn't drivable.
That's not drivable.
No, we have a tax map here
yeah,
that shows,
so Pico, Bliss Lane comes in, makes this sharp left. And there is a straight
This comes from.
through, but
Yeah,
That's-
Pico's
Yeah.
further up.
So,
Yeah.
so
Further up.
where, so this is not Pico right
No.
now?
correct.
No, it's not.
That's
that's right. Right, Pico
So
is,
what are we looking
So this is an old class 6 road that's been
right, Pico Road is over here.
been discontinued.
Oh.
And feeds into Bliss Lane, which then hangs that
So
left.
David's,
Oh.
Goes,
David's house should be in
that,
here,
I think that's right.
but, no, but we thought it
No,
was
yeah,
here.
it's definitely down there.
David's house
Yeah,
is
it's
up
on
here.
Bliss, right down
Yeah,
here.
David's house
Oh,
is
is it?
right
Ah,
here.
okay, yes.
And David's property is kind of at the intersection, that would be this,
Closer to Pico.
Yep.
Is David's.
yeah, right at the corner.
Yep.
So
See his pond here.
Definitely a tangent.
would it be possible,
This is Sheen's right here.
so is this, do we know what this is? Is this an actual class 6 road?
No.
or-
No, it's on, another one that's been thrown up.
So it seems to me that should be relabeled as former,
There's a
something.
trail that goes across from the Derby Hill Road, Jaffe Road. The old Derby place.
Yeah, the
I know
legend
that
doesn't show
road is
this.
Derby Hill Road.
yeah, that's that's
has
way
a
off the sheet, I
footpath
think,
now
on this.
that goes over and hooks into Pico.
That line work is just
That-
equal to an abutter
Doesn't even do with-
sort of property line there.
Well, no, other than, I mean, this looks like a traveled road, and it's not a
Right,
traveled
because-
road.
Which is,
It's, from the tax maps, that's how, it still shows a road width there. That's that.
okay.
Which lot, Patty used to, I think it's this lot. And we see where the road ends on tax maps, but we can see,
That would be right over there, and one would go by the school.
yep,
And what is these little things?
this is,
Logging
some
roads.
satellite imagery that gives
Something,
you,
okay, I got you.
shows you the shape
What are you
of land.
looking
and you can
There's
see
little dash things. I'm sorry, I took enough
Old logging roads.
geography courses that I like,
Waterways.
it's on the map, you have to have a
where they're-
legend.
Cliffs.
Which, yeah, so we have the edge of gravel line type here. in a- If we get to smaller scale plans, we try to show
It might, yes.
this level of hatching in between there, but at 250 scale, it really doesn't show. And then the registry doesn't like it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't pick it up.
So they can do that.
No, we cannot submit electronically yet.
Cause this gets
It's,
smaller.
there, it all comes down to original signatures, which is hard to do.
But proving is where.
Right.
Cause that's the lower one, you gotta go to the
Original
next sheet.
document.
Yeah, it's like,
Right.
this
Four is the
this
one
is
that's
Baker
up
Hill
here.
right here.
Oh, it does?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But
There's
it's,
a freeway intersection.
that portion of this lane
That's
is
Pico that comes down,
outside of our viewports,
Yeah.
way over here, so this,
So yeah, that's
thick
Pico. so
dash
this
line
Up
is
behind
the sheet line
Pico.
of where, so that sheet 4 shows up to this point. So that corner in question is that far outside of the project area that it's shown for reference
Yeah,
that
'cause this
if you were
piece
driving
here
up
is
Bliss
David
Lane,
Roby's.
you could get here, but
Before wheeling.
Right.
not for anything else.
Yeah, we went up there.
somewhere.
Well, we went right by Ball's
We went
house.
right by
remember?
Ball's house.
And
We were
then we kept
here.
going, then we kept going up, yeah.
I'm not sure where we went, Tim's driving.
I just, I
It's
had
going
my
so
eyes
fast, I
closed.
couldn't see a thing.
Just holding on.
I was totally
Sure,
lost.
this,
I can't go out there, David, I'm totally lost.
He did all right that day, we got back.
Yeah, David was great.
Okay, well, I think we've got a good enough introduction. I think maybe we should go through the checklist and,
Yes.
but Jerry, are there any other questions or concerns that you may have at this point? that you wanna share with us?
Just a curiosity, because a few months ago, I was approached by somebody that wanted to go across the property to go over into, I know it is Pelham Swamp. Do you know it?
This one.
Goodrich Place? No.
No,
But anyway, they were asking for permission, and it couldn't have been you people, because you would know these.
So there's another property, owned by, is it Ronald Evans?
At one
Awful.
point, they were,
So the Park Service is also working with him on a purchase
that
there.
would probably be
So
the
there
connector
could be,
there.
there's another surveyor involved that might be accessing to get on the opposite side of the wetland. They might have to come
Okay.
across.
As you, you know where Bliss Lane is?
Yep.
Okay. You come to a T, you can go to the right, you go right, cross over an old road, bridge onto Goose Pond Road.
Right, which
Okay.
is not driving.
That
that
whole
portion.
area to the left of there is very swampy
Yeah.
and wet.
There was a surveyor asking to get in there.
That's what I was wondering.
It was not part of this
Not
project. Nope,
Okay.
we're working on the opposite side of Goose Pond Road for the Park Service and working on what we presented here, but not in that area.
Okay, then you are, or might not have been you, but at one point Woodard's had a conversation with the park, with, the trail,
Yep, the Appalachian Trail.
right?
Yep.
I butt right into where that conversation was, so I was curious if anything was happening in that area.
Next to the Woodward's property.
It's not Woodward.
It's
what is-
Sheehan now.
Big sheet.
She, right. There was, I believe there was some discussion on whether that she still owned this piece that the Park Service owns. I think she was under the belief that she did own it, but the Park Service has
That
a deed
sounds
to
right.
it, and so it was very clear, on the title side that they do own it, and it's marked as such, and so
Okay.
it was probably the case that a prior deed didn't get updated when it was sold forward, that this back
The
portion.
previous owner was taken under eminent domain, and the previous owner was very unhappy with the price given,
God,
and so he complained about that bitterly to the day he died.
Okay, mine is flashed with,
That's a deed reference here, right, the judgment order of distribution of US versus Michael S. Woodard?
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
is glazed and painted,
Oh, really?
Yes.
some yellow and some red.
Yep.
Okay, 'cause I have to go over there and look every few months just to make sure it's not moving.
Shouldn't be.
Well, I'm not very trustful.
Okay, well, I think if people have a sense as to what the project is, I think it makes sense to go through the lot line adjustment checklist that David has, and I don't know if people wanna follow along.
I have copies of,
They've made some copies.
So I have one question, was there any, there are no properties in this area that have any conservation easements or restrictions on them?
Not that are recorded, that I've been able to find.
Okay,
At the town level, you may know different.
yeah, no, I just,
But,
you know, with the
um,
people, some of the ownerships, I just wondered if they had, you know, conserved their properties, so.
It been an interesting, I mean, the last 10 years, land conservation has been more and more common.
Mhm.
So finding that out
Yep.
is always a hard one for
Yep,
us.
yep, Yep.
But, so nothing to our
okay,
knowledge.
okay, great.
So if we start going through this checklist, the name and address of each abutter, and the map and lot number,
for the notice list, yes, I have that,
okay, yeah. And name and business of,
both those I have.
okay. Size per requirements of registry of deeds,
The paper size will be this will be what the registry requires.
okay. They've asked to have the scale of 1 inch equals, 1 inch equals 100 feet waived, and I think that that's a reasonable thing to do. Prepared by licensed New Hampshire surveyor, yes. Okay, the boundaries and area of entire parcel north, north arrow, bar scale date, and dates of any revisions.
It's
So
just the boundaries.
we've just got that one question about the boundaries.
Well, I mean, it's no, it's not just the one, because all that receiving lot hasn't been resurveyed.
Yeah,
So that's just out there as a request for a waiver. I mean, none of them,
right.
so it's just parcels that.
So if we waive those, what is our justification? Is it the fact that the same owner owns them? I mean, if this was not the same owner, would we waive them? Or why are we waiving them?
I think they are, the lines that are in existence today. So there's nothing that is being changed to those lines. So if this project never even happened, those would still be out there as non,
Right,
so it doesn't really affect the boundaries, or this project doesn't affect the boundaries of those portions of the lot that were in existence today.
let me understand this, so all of this is in conservation, or it's going to be put in conservation? What is the,
That's up to David.
so it's not in conservation right now?
Well, I think with US Fish and Wildlife.
Well, no, but right now, there are no easements or conservation restrictions on any of the
Right, yeah.
properties, but for the Park Service, it's understood, it's part of the,
I mean, it's a
Appalachian
huge,
Scenic Trail.
I'm just kind of wanting to understand why we're waiving it. I mean, I think one of the reasons it's a huge property. But if somebody came in with a 2-acre parcel and said, well, geez, you did the Forest Service and didn't require them, why are you requiring me on my 2-acre parcel? What's our answer gonna be? I think it's.
well, our fallback would be, you know, that we're only asking for surveys of the boundary lines, that, you know, where there's a change. If it was a 2-acre parcel, we have some concern about whether it's still conforming with zoning in terms of acreage.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then in this situation, we don't have frontage. No road frontage is being gained or lost. The dimensional control, we're saying, oh, this is not a building lot, so that's why we're not interested in the width, the
Okay.
depth,
Okay.
so.
So we're good with waiving that. Existing and proposed lot lines, angles, monuments at lot corners.
For the tracks that are changing hands. It's not both, it's not all of them,
Right,
and I would say for the same reasons, because we don't have questions of acreage, frontage, or those dimensions.
yep.
David, do you have a copy of the application?
Yes.
On the last, there's an example of a waiver. I don't believe that's the last page of the actual, document that would be available on the website. There's an example waiver, and the case in point is a large property where they own 500 acres. You don't have to survey the entire extent of that property, unless you're trying to prove minimum lot size, setbacks, suitability for a building lot and septic systems.
Okay, yeah, actually, I see that on page 4 of 4 of appendix B of the application that you filled out.
So that's what I was trying to target with my,
You must prove you're not making any conforming lot, non-conforming, or any non-conforming lot, less conforming. So, the lot lines, et cetera, that's shown. I think with the exception of perhaps adding another item to the legend that, on the difference between the solid black and the gray.
yes. Yep.
Ornaments. Location of existing and proposed easements. I think that's
Or none.
addressed.
Or none, so it's not, but it was an easement, but it's not any longer.
It won't be when the Park Service purchases it.
Location of utilities, wells, et cetera. I don't know if there are any, or maybe we're just waiving them. I'd rather say we're waiving them.
None to my knowledge.
Well, there would be along Bliss Lane and.
On, not on
Right,
these properties,
right, but not
on
on these
abutting
properties.
properties, yes, but
Drainage ways.
Location of zoning district boundaries.
That one is,
so there, it's noted in the note, I believe, is it note 4?
Note
Excuse
4
me,
is.
no
contour
one.
involves.
No one.
No one.
It lies entirely within mountain and forest conservation district, and partially within hillside and ridgeline, so that has not been identified, it sounds like.
well, the Ridgeline District is one of the overlay districts, it's not one of the zoning districts. The Mountain Forest is
Right.
a zoning district.
It's entirely within Mountain Forest.
But it's also partially within the hillside and ridgeline, right?
That's an
That's-
overlay.
That's an overlay district, and I'd actually ask to have that removed from the plan, because I think it's confusing.
Oh, okay.
That it is a conservation overlay district, it is not a actual zoning district.
Okay, yep, I got you.
So I would, if we could have that removed, I think it would be
Yep.
less confusing.
Okay. Name and address of each butter, excuse me. Are we happy with those at this point? Or does he have to change one of them for the kill marks?
Kilmarks and Ball, if I saw that on the notice list, and I forgot to check in on the actual map for the, whether they were, it's noted as Ethan or Thomas, or, and then the address for Kilmarks was,
For Ball,
yep,
it is Ethan,
yep,
which is correct.
yep.
So we just had it in the
He's had it in the notice list
note
as Thomas.
Thomas. And then Kilmark is Robert D. Kilmark Living Trust.
Yep. And it just does, the address on the notice list was
Was the wrong.
one.
location. Yep.
Say that, I did correct that and send it to the,
But anything on the plans is correct?
yes.
Okay. Okay. So the notice,
I think that second page twice,
yeah, we did.
Sorry.
first page twice.
This is a Groundhog Day.
Yeah, you can do it, you can do it quickly.
Well, yeah, we can do it more fast. Final plat, within 60 days from planning board approval, provide 2 paper copies and a Mylar.
that'll be.
So I think he would agree to do that.
Yes, and if not, if it doesn't come in within 60 days, then he has to come back to the board anyway,
Okay.
so.
Okay, title matters, provide a copy of each of the following in the most recent deed, if not on file with the
We
town, that's
have
been
the-
done?
yeah, we have the most recent deeds.
Okay. All present or proposed easements, covenants, reservations or restrictions, if not on file with the town.
There were none that you were adding.
That I'm aware of, that will be non-existent after the transfer.
What is this, David? A deed restriction shall be placed in the body of the deed or other instrument of transfer stating that the grantee, by virtue of acceptance of this deed.
This is
Agrees.
language that is, been used by the planning board, that it goes into the deed, and it, the board has also historically asked for it to be placed on the plan. So if the text is just, you have right there, this is, if that can just be added to the plan, and it, all it does is say that the lot line adjustment is not creating any new lots.
Cause it's like in that snapshot of time in which the deeds are being passed, they're not ever gonna be separate lots, they're always intended to be combined.
So you're not doing a subdivision, you're doing an annexation.
Right, but if you get your hands on the deed, it will only read this new parcel that's being annexed. So if this is added to the deed, it clearly shows the intent is to merge it with the other tax lot.
It becomes
Okay.
part and parcel.
Right.
Yeah, part of the other parcel, so, yeah, standard.
The dimensional conformance, that we're not making any conforming lot, non-conforming, or any non-conforming lot less conforming. And we are saying that, that this is all conservation, but I thought we had just said that some of this is not conserved.
Well, it's like the Park Service has it to be part of a national park.
For the part that's going to the Park Service,
Right.
but what about the part that's going to David?
I didn't see any issues with those, with the,
Doesn't have much, I mean, it's got road frontage problems in terms of,
yeah, it's not really,
terms of
I couldn't see it
being
being subdivided or developed other than maybe a little bit along Bear Hill.
well, he's got frontage on Dorchester.
No, that's
Oh,
Park
no,
Service.
it's Democrats, yeah. Yeah, he's limited by the frontage with any kind of development, so.
Okay. And waivers, the board may waive requirement of a preliminary survey for the entire parcel,
Sounds like we were doing.
which
Yep.
sounds like
Yep.
we are agreeing to that.
And in fact, we have a very lovely perimeter sketch.
Yes. Whenever the board waives the requirement for a perimeter survey of the entire parcel, there shall be submitted instead a perimeter sketch, which shall indicate the size and shape of the entire parcel, the location of any structures thereon, the names of the abutters, the location of the proposed lot lines, the location and names of existing roads, the location and nature of important topographic features, and other such information as will assist the planning board in reviewing the annexation requests. I think they've done that.
Nailed it. Should've started there, maybe.
Yeah.
My apologies.
So David, what do we need to, I'm
You have
looking for a motion at this point
Here
to.
to deem the application complete.
Okay, so that's what I'm looking for a motion for. Does
I'll
anybody
move.
wish to do
I'll
that?
move.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Moved by Tim, seconded by Vicky. Further discussion? I think we did identify a few points
So
that
let's
we,
vote on the completeness of the
oh,
application.
thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting this as complete application, say aye.
David, aye.
Nay, none? Okay. So we're complete, now we want to
Grant the waivers
grant the waivers.
for perimeter, full perimeter survey, and for the scale of the surveys. So I'll make that motion.
Perimeters. And also waiving the location of utilities and wells and septic systems.
Okay?
Do we need to waive these boundary problems as well?
We can't waive boundary problems. What we're doing is waiving the full perimeter survey. And that is part of the full perimeter
Oh,
survey,
okay.
as is, that's part of the full perimeter
see.
survey as well, whether it's a problem or not. I just don't like things floating in the air like that.
If you want to, just write that up as a finding that were found, that there were some issues with the, and it would just be noted in the decision and in the minutes
Yeah,
that,
I mean, you can say that it was brought up that we felt uncomfortable about that, but it's not necessarily germane to the boundary line adjustment. Just as shown on the map, it looks pretty official, and like, everything should be like as it is, and in fact, that's a, it's an outer space, it's just a floating line. There's nothing to tie it to any points on the ground.
So,
But that's, we've already, I mean, I think we've agreed that we're not gonna require a full perimeter survey, so we're not going to go.
well, I mean, I think there is question, this is the one that seems to be the most concerning.
Well, it may or may not be, I mean, that one is apparently the most concerning, but others of these may not, may not actually be good lines, because he hasn't surveyed them.
Right.
He's just taking it from something else that might not be, I don't know what the standards were, or if there were even worse standards, or if they were even surveyed, so.
What are these little dots? Looks like a lot, well, I guess it's the, lot 410-16.
It's got three boundary markers.
Yeah, those are all,
This is a rebar.
yep, those are all rebar.
So that's a
On sheet- On
separate.
sheet 4, it does call those out as 3/4 inch rebars found with thrall discs, and that's per plan reference 5. And we surveyed those
Mhm.
as well. So that's plan reference from 1990.
What is that approximate distance there?
But between where the floating line goes and that
Yeah.
other,
What do you,
Looks like-
500 feet, so that would be.
Looks like it's 100 feet or so.
yeah,
Well, from there to there,
Yeah. I'm
from
just-
1 inch, that's almost half, I bet it's 200 feet.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it's almost half an inch.
well, if you put it from there and then put the other one where
Yeah.
that marker is, it might come out that there was no change in acreage at all, but that's not part of this project.
I think we leave it alone.
Vicky says
So-
in 30 years, somebody's gonna be sorry.
Someone's gonna be sorry.
Yeah.
Jim, I have to ask, what is a thrall disc?
It's the last name of the surveyor.
Roger Thrall,
Roger Throw,
he used to be in business with Robert Cantel.
he lived in Thetford.
As a
So
survey.
if
still
I found
does
one,
probably.
I haven't seen him in years.
He does
Uh,
woodworking and he owns
A
property.
3/4 inch rebar with a plastic cap that has
Oh.
his license number. after, 1969, licensure came into the state of New Hampshire for land surveyors, they required identification on the property corner, so we always try to get that level of detail on there if it is, so that you know that was set by him, right? If it was a pipe, it might have been before that date, but because it has his identification, it's just that vintage.
Cool.
Yeah, yep.
We're looking up.
So
Let's go back.
we are looking to waive, certain requirements. I looked for a motion to waive,
I said,
those items.
yeah, you added in utilities and the septic systems
Right.
and all that, it's fine, I don't think there were any, but, that's fine,
Yeah.
we can put that in there.
Um,
So three things,
So do we have a
Scale,
second on
fulcrum.
that?
yeah.
I'll second.
Thank you, David. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. So our next, motion
Be to approve
would be
it
to approve
with
this.
a slight change to the, legend on the cover sheet. And with addition of just one thing, with the shaded or the grayed out, Appalachian Trail standard marker to show that it's inline monumentation and not a corner. Add that to the legend.
Okay, I'm a little confused on that, I'm trying to make sure I get that written the way you want it.
To distinguish an inline marker from an Appalachian Trail standard
Yes,
monument.
yes. Yeah, these are
So
corners. This is
differentiate
just
the light gray from the dark
from the
black.
dark one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, putting that in the minutes, that way someone, when they see the final plan, might not know, so so distinguishing the inline markers from the corner markers. I
Or you
think-
could say the
They're
black,
called
the
They're called Appalachian Trail standard
black
monument.
icons or symbols from the gray
From the gray
symbols.
ones, because they're two different shades.
Yeah.
That's what the black ones are called, Appalachian Trail standard monument.
So I'll just add another
No, they
line
do
item to
exist,
the legend
but they're
with that
not,
gray symbol
they're not
and identify it
located.
as
These are
a
just put
online
on the
reference
line about
monument.
every
Okay.
500 feet.
will be mine.
To help people find their way, but they're not surveyed points.
Right. Right.
Well, they're sorts, otherwise they kind of put on the line. 'cause that's
Well,
the
they're on the
boundary.
line to the vestibule building, but they're individually not located, so
Okay.
there's
So,
no distances.
Do others have a sense that they would like to see the notes on the other sheets? As well as, carry the legend on the other sheets?
I think having the legend is a really good idea, and all the other notes, the question is whether or not there's room.
Or maybe at least a note referring to see legend for additional notes?
See the overall
Or
sheet.
or the overall
Yes.
sheet?
Yep,
Cover
So
sheet.
they, so kind of,
deed
Cover sheet.
references, plan references, and notes are
yes,
on the
Cover
overall
sheet.
sheet.
yeah.
Yep.
And I would love to see on the cover sheet, the section of, discontinued Bliss Road. Maybe that identified as something else, either discontinued or
That
or
was
else
closed
shaded, or
subject to
shaded,
Mason Daughters.
or something, so that right now, it looks like it's a physical road.
Well, there are a lot of them in here that are the same.
I mean, this is dark
This one,
black,
is that right?
Past Sheehan's, that's not a road.
where's Sheen's?
Right here. This is.
Then once you get past her house, that turns into a trail.
Yep. So
Right. It does.
if he was gonna do that, they all should be done that way. Because there's
Yeah, the line work's taken from the tax maps is it's kind of a,
Yeah, because I mean, it's just very confusing where it says Bliss, and then there's just this little dash thing, it makes you think that that's a nothing road, and the thing coming in from Goose Pond is a major road. And I think it just really sets the,
I live right
The viewer.
on the road, Bliss Lane, where you're talking, and you come around on Bliss Lane, goes up the hill, you go down the hill a little bit, you're in my driveway, and that's the end of the road.
yeah,
The old road continues and goes across a bridge that's not there anymore, but they managed to, it's still got the iron frame, so people are crossing there
Hmm.
and hiking and with their bikes and stuff.
Mhm.
So I think it's, I'm the only one there, I don't see any reason why it can't stay a trail, you know, access to go across there.
I mean, that's kinda what I'm suggesting, is that it be,
Labeled that.
it be labeled as,
It is.
as what it is.
No, it's not a class 5 road.
It's.
We don't really know what it is. Is it a class 6 road? Or
Is it what?
Is it a class 6 road?
I don't know if it's ever been classified as that, I know for a long time, we could fence the road off,
Yep.
but have a gate where people could go
Yep,
through it.
yep, Yep, that's
That'd be a
class 6.
At the time, we had a couple of horses that were using that for their pasture, and one was a sassy little guy. And he liked to have people come, so he was just trying to be friendly, but he'd scare them to death. He'd come charging up to him, like say, oh boy, I'm so glad to see you, and it's
Right.
like.
Yeah, I think you're getting charged by a horse.
Yeah.
I
David,
probably
do you
shouldn't tell
have
you
a,
that.
do you have a map that indicates, town roads, or does the highway department have a map?
The tax map is probably one of the better, we do have a good book, that is the official, unofficial guide of roads, that was written by Dick Jones. And I can look in that and figure out what it most likely
I
would
just
be.
think it should be labeled as, I mean, we have something, former Tyler Hill Road,
I'd like
New
to
Hampshire
people to find
Snowmobile
out
Corridor,
how
this, we should
when the town
identify
laid
that.
out the roads, how
yeah,
wide
if I
the
can work
road
with
was.
David to come
Sure.
up with what it was
Dick's,
previously.
book might have that, and then sometimes you actually have to go back and look at deeds to see where, so it takes some research to try to figure out.
Driving
In a lot of roads, they were never laid out, they were just,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can see it,
yeah.
yeah.
There.
Yep, and so the town is basically, it's the, from Edger Road to Edger Road, plus the
Right.
elevator to maintain.
Um,
ditches
See
and
that
such.
beautiful woods, really, the big ravine on the left.
The town reports are the best source of, because you have to take town meeting action to discontinue a road. So the town reports, if it happened, it's in the town reports, just knowing what year to look at.
So are there any other things that we would want?
Nope.
What do you think we want right now that you've gotten written down, Dave?
You want a distinction between the inline markers and the standard markers for the AT.
Yep.
You want legend that, or a note that says the deed references, the notes and the legends are all on the cover sheet,
Yep,
Yep,
and that goes on all sheets.
You want the cover sheet labeled something slightly distinctive.
Thank you.
Just overall boundary line adjustment plan.
yes, that's
Yep,
fine.
have that.
And then, I'm still trying to figure out where that road is for that you want downgraded.
Right
Uh,
here.
How about the,
It's,
how about the west boundary along Sam Kovacs property?
This piece here,
yes.
off of Goose Pond Road.
it's this piece here.
Okay, so,
That's really not anything, except a cut through that you can see from Goose Pond Road, you can see all the way through. But it's just a trail.
to, sort of Goose Pond to,
To the
Bliss,
list,
yeah.
yeah.
That's that spot where there's that long straight open.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It was,
When I ride my bike, I always think, I wonder if I should just cut across there.
You can.
And, well, you never know, there could be jump there that makes it actually slower.
And, were there any other items?
it's, this one from Goose Pond to Bliss Lane, right, this section right in here,
We forgot that
That-
part.
Yeah.
What?
doesn't really exist.
Complete satellite photos.
Oh, right.
We forgot that. I have a
Drone
satellite
used to-
photo
drone
right
shots.
here.
Drone shots,
Yeah.
I have a satellite. Oh, yeah, right there.
Yep.
I'm looking at the, it's a.
I think that's the section, yeah.
Yeah.
But
It goes
I-
from,
yeah,
as
I
Vicky
know that
said,
it's
goes
this-
from Goose Pond, just
Right here,
a
yeah.
little bit beyond the Colbeck property, all the way to where it picks up, just at the end of the Burgess property.
Yeah.
And then just before it, Bliss Lane turns left and goes,
Right.
to David Robison's.
So I think, is there any other discussion? So we have, I think, was it three things that we were looking for then? The
Do,
deed plan reference, and notes being called out on, as a note.
Yep.
On the subsequent sheets, renaming the cover sheet, and identifying whatever that is on,
right, so I see four.
we had striking I crossed it out, but the, Ridgeline Conservation
Right.
District.
Yeah.
Striking that, and then adding the deed restriction
Yep.
language as likely to be note number 6. Are the other 2 items that I have.
okay. So I guess I'd look for a motion, to accept to approve the lot line adjustment with those conditions.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, David moved it, Vicky seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? It's approved. Sorry.
No worries,
Long run for a
I
short
guess,
slide.
time per acre is probably
pretty quick.
pretty economical.
You need addresses where to send the fruit basket?
Where are you based?
Our office is in North Conway, but I live in Gorham, so an hour and 50 minutes.
Watch out for moose.
Yes.
Yeah.
I took the day off because I knew I was gonna work tonight.
There you go.
I know it's approved, but the waivers granted, some towns like to see that noted on the plan, where it's scale, and there already is a note related to the overall perimeter survey, I don't know that it's necessary.
Town, we've never had the waivers put on the plans.
Put on the plans, okay. It's mostly site plan that
Yeah.
require that,
Yeah.
but.
That's fine,
It'll be part of the notice of decision.
okay. So, then what happens is, once he's got these and you've checked it, then I have to come in and sign it, is that right? Okay.
And then we'll get the Mylar copies recorded,
Yep,
and either you can do that, or if you want, I can
send you the checks.
send, yep,
Yep,
and I can
all right.
ship it in.
Perfect. If I have to confirm with the Park Service if they want a Mylar, but if I send that with additional mailage to come back to us,
Yep.
if you could sign 2,
Is
if they
that-
want it.
I have no problems.
Process.
It-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
So the town doesn't keep a Mylar?
Nope, we only keep the paper copies.
Oh, but this is getting filed,
It's getting recorded with.
The registry,
in the
but-
registry.
But the paper copies just get so destroyed, and keeping the Mylars in town, that's what I've done.
Well, that's something we should look at in the, as
What do
a,
they do with the Mylars?
they store them up in Grafton County. registry.
Just that when you have them folded, these get really, really, they rip, just like any of the piece, this is
Yep.
plain old paper, it's not really good paper, it's copied and all that. So, in Hanover, we keep the Mylar because that's more a permanent record of, than the paper.
It was something that the subdivision regulations would need to be changed to, because it only requires a Mylar and two
Mhm.
paper copies, and
Yeah.
so I have to send the Mylar to
Yeah.
Grafton, so that leaves the paper copies with us,
Right,
so.
well, you need to have a flat file, obviously, to keep the Mylars, if you keep the Mylars.
Yeah, we have one that's pretty full of very old paper copies.
Mhm.
Well, I think, I would think that if it's recorded at the county office, that not only is it recorded, but they digitize it too, don't they?
Yes, you can get an electronic copy from them, and
Yeah.
we can print it out.
Okay. Well, that was exhausting. I think we should maybe move on, and I think we have a couple sets of minutes. Do we want to do that tonight?
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Any questions?
Very
let me
nice
know.
to meet you, thank you
Alright.
for coming in.
Thank you.
With your little thing that you were just showing me, your eyes, the shape of the land,
Mhm.
can you see, would that show an old corduroy road?
It might, I'd have that, unfortunately, it's on my phone.
No, I'm coming in.
If you wanna come in and, I can show you, we can look at that. What she looking for? She's looking for an old corduroy road on her property, using the Hillshade, LiDAR data.
Well, I don't want to keep more
I love that
details,
data.
but if you could find it interesting, because it's your neighborhood, yeah, that would.
You can see that, maybe?
I can see stone walls. I can see the headstones lining up in the cemetery.
Oh, that's cool.
The LiDAR data is
Yeah, I
is
missed that.
so impressive, what you can see,
Predominantly target.
pre,
We should be able
going
to
out
see
of
it.
the woods.
Let's do the minutes
Really?
for
Yeah, lay in the land.
November 14.
Which one is,
Um,
there was one that was with Jonah, and Jonah's name is misspelled.
Oh, really?
Let's hear for this.
Oh, yeah, we got
Jonah, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
It
James.
is, yeah, that,
right there.
And then Margaret needs an A, I think.
Right, and, well, I have.
Is it
There's two places.
Margaret?
It's
There's two places.
Margaret Pratt, and her name is Rogers with no D.
oh,
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you for coming
Nice to
out.
meet you.
Thank you for coming.
It's very interesting, it was fun.
Good.
you have to come every week, every other week.
Actually, I might do that.
Excellent.
Okay,
To be fair, I was on the planning board in Salisbury for a number of years, but we never got into anything like this.
interesting.
We were much more primitive.
Where was that, Salisbury?
Hmm?
In Salisbury, you said?
Salisbury, New Hampshire.
Okay.
Huh.
It's about 20 miles north of Concord.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
thank you, it was very interesting.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
So David, you've got Jonah, Rogers, and Margaret
yeah.
Well,
Pratt.
as Margaret Pratt is the institution.
Right, I have,
it's
in two
Jamie
places, I
Rogers with no
was
D.
missing an A,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Jonah, I got a couple of places.
Three or
And
four,
so,
yeah.
any other,
I think there was, I forget which one of the minutes, I was missing the date on the top, I have corrected that.
Yeah.
that's the next one.
There was one thing, we noted a principal statement from the fellow from
Fines.
about why, what kinds of things facilitate it. And I thought there was one thing that Jonah said that was kind of an interesting point that we hadn't really come across, and that's like, you really need a champion who's gonna take it all the way through. And I thought that that was kind of a key, we haven't written up our key findings from anything, but I would
Right.
I'd like to keep that in the.
Sure, I can
memorialize
add.
that.
Sure, what would we be adding?
We
in
would just say
sense?
what Jonah thought,
He also
on top of
discussed-
all of the other things that others find important, like municipal services and, availability of grants, the, having a champion locally is really the key.
To get anything done, you need a champion, even if they're
Yeah.
not like champion material, you know, to get anything done, you need somebody herding the cats and moving it forward and being in charge of the money and the permitting and all that, yep.
Yeah.
And also, on the 14 minutes, I forgot to add all the folks that were here, so there was Lenore Bolton, Jenna Mills, Scott Thompson, Nancy Allison, and Lynn McRae were present.
Oh, okay. So, what do we have, can we form a sentence here for, Jonah also felt that to be successful, a community,
A project needs a champion.
Project manager, would you say project manager?
well, a project needs a
A champion,
A
somebody,
champion.
yeah. Somebody with,
That works for it.
no, just, you know, somebody who's gonna
somebody who really
take the
wants to,
flag and
wants
carry
to
it.
do the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like Jonah has enough people working for him now that he's got a pretty good backup group.
But he's the champion.
But he's the champion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But he's hired people to do certain things for him.
Yeah. So, I'd accept a motion to, accept the minute, to accept the minutes as revised
For the 14th.
for the 14th. So moved by Matt, seconded by Tim. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain because I was in
Yeah, I have to
Michigan.
abstain as well.
Do we just need 3, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good. The next minutes was, what was that meeting date?
That was the 7th.
Okay. So that's one of the edits.
Already
Also,
done.
The second sentence, he noted that Twin Pines primarily or predominantly,
Predominantly, I think it would be.
rather than pronominally. I'm not sure that's a word.
No.
I've never heard of it, it's a new word.
I'm
for
just
me.
surprised that spell checker didn't pick that up too.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so it's predominantly, right, David? I think
Yeah.
it would be, yeah.
Maybe it's pronominally, you only use pronouns in your.
That's what David has pronominally. Yeah, maybe he's right.
Any other revisions? Do we have a motion to accept the November 7th
I'll make
minutes?
a motion, or second, I'll second Nat's motion.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
I'm abstaining again.
David is with one abstention. Okay. Let's, so we do not have a meeting, another meeting this month,
We do not,
This year.
this year.
This year.
this year. We're gonna take the rest of the year off.
Yep.
But I do have
Sounds better than it is.
a little more business for the board. There was a petition warrant article submitted on Wednesday, so I'm gonna pass around a copy of the text of the article. And so the board needs to have a public hearing and needs to schedule that public hearing.
Let's just do it in January,
Yeah, maybe our first
first
meeting.
meeting, get it over with in case something else comes in, yeah.
So the first meeting in January would be the 9th.
Yep.
So we're gonna schedule a public hearing for
Yes,
that?
I'm gonna schedule a public, I will notice a public hearing for that night to discuss the,
So what happens at a public hearing?
Just hear stuff, we can't change it,
yeah,
and
just,
then we take a vote as to whether or not we support it or not.
Cause it seems like this is something that could take more than one meeting to, I mean, this is totally new to me, but something that's
well, this
a
is
very
very,
fuel tank seems like it's something that we might wanna get some opinions on.
Well, we can have the public
Sorry,
hearing.
David, you said the hearing was January 9th?
Yes.
What kind of opinion do you want?
I assume this has to do with Post Pond and groundwater, potential groundwater contamination and stuff like that. I don't know anything about this.
Right, so I'm hopeful that, I don't wanna hide the ball here.
I think this is from you, Rich.
This is from me, yes, and I'm working with the fire chief and his staff to try to find out if there are any concerns that they would have. The state doesn't care, and there are no national codes regarding it, and so they refer it to the zoning officer and to the fire officials in the town,
Mhm.
so.
Well, it's pretty clear why you don't wanna have toxic substances near water. That's what it comes down to. And it's not just that the tank will leak or not leak, but filling the tank, you know, or
I think this
distribution lines
should,
in.
discussion
so-
should be waited.
I understand, but you know,
Public
I'm
hearing.
just, that's,
Yeah,
it's, you know.
yeah, we might wanna see what other towns have done, maybe,
Well, people can spend their holidays looking for that, but,
So, so what is gonna, so we're gonna have a public hearing to,
So basically, I will put out listserv notices and post it in all the appropriate places with the text and say that there will be a public hearing to discuss this petition zoning amendment. And that will give anybody from the public a chance to come in and voice their opinion, yay or nay. And then the board can
but
discuss.
it's up to the applicant to present it and to answer questions to the public. It's not our,
Right.
it's not our.
And then
amendment.
it goes, if it's got enough signatures, it goes on to the town meeting.
It goes
It
anyway,
is going to the
Exactly.
town, it's going to go on the warrant.
Yes,
and it can't be amended, it goes
That's what
exactly
I-
as it's been written.
That's what I'm trying to say, but the only thing that happens is it's recorded what the vote of the planning board was.
Yes. So
so the
on the
planning
ballot.
board has to take action on this?
Yes, the planning board has to vote whether they agree or disagree with it.
So I think the wording is to recommend or not to recommend.
Yeah. And then that will go on the ballot.
And the planning board can't say they have no opinion?
That's correct.
Okay,
yeah, we have to just vote.
all right. Ready?
And we should have an opinion.
Yeah,
I mean, even if it's
Changing the zoning
saying, you know,
ordinance.
Yeah.
the board has not enough information to,
I think you can, I think you have to say recommend or not recommend.
well, can you say that you don't have enough information to
No.
recommend, so therefore you
No.
don't recommend?
No.
No, okay.
but presumably if you don't have
Well-
enough information and you feel uncomfortable.
The
you don't
language is
recommend it.
prescribed in the statute as to what goes on the ballot, and so we can only use that information, or that wording that the statute gives us. which
Well,
is to
for the ballot,
recommend.
I'm saying for the, when you're voting and saying, you know, why you wanna, you're gonna, all the ballot's gonna say is the planning board recommends or does not
Correct,
recommend.
yes.
But the board, in their decision, in making that decision,
Mhm.
whether they recommend or not, can say, we don't have enough information to recommend this, so therefore
Mhm.
we would not recommend it
Mhm,
until such time we have more
mhm.
information.
Are we required to justify our recommendation one way or the other?
It's a vote, so there probably should be a justification in the minutes saying why the board went one way or another.
Okay. Was there something else too?
I think that's,
Oh, Scott Bailey.
oh, Scott, that's right, I was gonna wait, but, we've been talking with Scott Bailey and Tim, about driveways and the angle at which, driveways enter the roads. And, he would like to see the board relook at the first, or the total angle, that first 30 feet of the curb cut. He's been having some difficulty with water runoff coming into the roads. And so he would like to see if we can,
Well, it's not.
You don't
really-
mean the angle, you mean the grade.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
the
have the
grade.
grade, yeah, it's not really the angle, it's the
yeah,
grade.
you're right, I'm sorry, I'm thinking
Yeah.
angle, vertical angle, so the grade.
Yeah, cause right now, the curb cut regulations say that you can have no more than a 5% grade down to the road for the first 20 feet. And then for the next 10 feet, it has to be less than 8%. So what Scott's been finding is that, you know, because if that slope, you know, goes all the way up, then the water runs right down into the road. So he would like to.
Along with the driveway.
Yeah, he would like to have that first 20, amended to have the first 20 feet slightly, I mean, we could say level, but that's hard when they build it, so have it slightly sloped away from the road, down away from the road.
The only problem is, when you say slightly, that doesn't.
Well, we could pick a,
Right, it would be a number just because,
you know, that's what I meant,
yeah.
not say level, we could just pick a number that it would be.
Presumably this change would apply prospectively only.
going forward, yes.
Yeah.
It would not go
Yeah,
back.
not retroactively.
I mean, it's common to have like 3 to 5%, you know, negative 3 to 5%.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the
on
state
driveways, and the
has
state has a
rules on-
requirement like that.
Yeah, we can look at the state
Yeah.
rules and see
State
what they
rules,
say
right.
to,
Yeah, it's less than 6.
Interestingly, I looked at Hanover standards and I think it's an old Dick Hogger.
Oh, totally old Dick Hogger, yes.
I can't believe Peter hasn't revised that.
You know, I'm not saying that the Dick Hogger rules are being implemented.
Oh,
That's the-
okay.
Yeah, because, you know, just knowing Mike Chase, who used to do the driveways, I'm not sure who's doing it now, but,
Yeah.
they were definitely designed to benefit the town, and not have problems with those intersections.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
did Dick Hopper do? What was his rule?
Well, it was kinda interesting, it's half an inch per foot, so it's a 4%, for the first 15 feet. Which I was thinking it should just be a percentage, but, you know, the average guy, the homeowner, the contractor, they can understand a half an inch per foot, you know? At 10 feet, you know, you've got 5 inches.
Sure.
And I suspect Scott would be happy with that.
Yeah,
Um,
like plumbing is 1/8 of an inch per foot.
Yeah,
So it's different for waste for plumbing.
or a half a bubble or a quarter bubble or
So-
whatever.
Yeah, so
on your
David,
level.
were you thinking of of having that on the first meeting in January also, or do you think there'll be enough to do with just the?
I think there'll be enough to do, and I talked with Scott, and, you know, he's said, I'm not in any rush for this.
Right,
So, you know, as we get, you know, scheduled into January, decide, you know, I think the board needs to have a discussion about what they wanna, you know, how they wanna change it, and what the exact language is going to be, and then you would hold another public hearing.
So
yeah,
that's in the driveway regulations?
Yeah, that's curb cut regulations.
and Scott might wanna come to the meeting.
Right, and that's.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You know, to talk about it with us, and then,
But that has nothing to do with town meeting or.
No, that is just something
But
the planning
it's
board
just
can-
something that would be a
Yeah.
public hearing.
Yeah, it would just be a public hearing.
So
Okay.
we could modify without, it doesn't have to go to the town?
No.
When you look at, you have ordinances and regulations, anything that is an ordinance has to go to the town, anything that's a
I
regulation
have mine.
is something that can be changed by the planning
Really?
board with a public hearing.
Okay.
but they work fine, except for that.
Yeah, well, no, and if he sees anything else that he wants,
Well, I don't think so, he and I have talked about it a lot, and at this point, I think
I think the driveway opening should be regulated.
well, it is, it's somewhere here, it says no more than 50 feet wide.
50 for a driveway?
I think it says that.
That is certainly, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's way
Like
way
about
out.
Abrams
More than
Skiway's
50.
gonna want that.
I would suggest the board look at the curb cut regulations, and if there are other things that you wish to
Yeah,
review at that
Well,
time.
wipe out
yeah,
every
the access,
stone wall in town, let's keep that.
well, the access way curb cut shall be a minimum width of 18 feet at its
Right.
junction with the road. The access way shall have a maximum width of 50 feet at its junction with the road.
That's just amazing.
Except that access way may be flared beyond a width of 50 feet to accommodate turning radius of vehicles expected to use the access way.
Holy smokes.
So it sort of depends on how the driveway meets the road, what the angle is.
Yeah, and the angle can't be greater than 60 degrees, where it meets the road.
Yeah,
So it can't be, it has to be.
more acute, it's gotta be greater than 60.
David,
Yeah.
would you send us a, copy?
Sure, I can send the curb cut to everyone.
Curb cuts, that,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an emergency, but
We adjourn?
I think
Well,
we should.
one more,
Oh,
it was brought to my attention today, and I thought, is an interesting idea that I wanted to pass on to the board. I think in Hanover does it, is, if somebody is interested in, or feels that there should be a change to the ordinance, I think Hanover has a form online that they can fill out and send in, and it goes to the board, and I would like to do something like that for the town of Lyme.
Yep,
Um,
zoning amendment review form, ZARC.
yeah, so if that's,
Zoning amendment
Steal
review.
shamelessly.
Oh, yes, and they also have a deadline of, well, theirs is a May town meeting, so we have a deadline of November 15th for May town meeting. So I guess ours would be, 2 months sooner than that, and, so.
well, I'll steal the one from Hanover
September.
and then kind of modify what I,
Yeah.
what I see for Lyme, and then bring it to the board.
So this is, you've had requests from the public to want to do this?
Yes.
To change this, okay.
Well, it makes it easier for people that also, I don't know, we found that if people could describe what they're trying to do in plain language, that's helpful. And then, to find some backing for it in the master plan, that's helpful. And then, generally, how do they wanna do what they wanna do? And then if they can give us specific language, like what sections of the ordinance would have to change. So that, we weren't missing, if it's in 2 places, we weren't missing it, but, yeah. But change it for Lyme, it's easy.
Okay.
So I will work on that.
Well, everybody have a good Christmas and New Year,
yeah.
and every other holiday.
Indeed.
See you next year, I guess.
Yeah.
So Hebe,
Yes, ma'am.
thanks in advance if I find deer in my yard.
Yeah, yeah. That's
What's
great.
that mean? She's bringing you some
Our-
medicine?
Our eras of decoration
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
out of sync.
Yeah.
So I had 8 of those wireframe reindeer
Oh,
with
cool.
all the little lights. Some of the lights are dead by
Yeah.
now. And they all fold up and we have the original boxes. I'm trying to get rid of them.
Ah.
And Vicky wants to decorate, so.
And are they gonna go up the side of your house and stuff, to the roof?
On the roof.
On the roof?
See,
Oh,
it was
man.
blow up first.
12 feet tall.
I have
The
a,
unit
I,
is
I,
on your back.
I'm in that stage.
I'll have to make sure I don't have any more copies, but,
Hey, I think.
let me
Oh,
write
yeah,
down a
yeah,
note.
yeah.
And, I had the same problem with the kid.
I know, I know.
Had the same.
Yes.
I'm amazed at how different, the edits are different,
Yeah, he's got.
but they really look good, they look coordinated almost.
Well, no, remember Sunny Bernard used to do that?
The right,
Yeah.
right palette.
I mean,
Yeah,
Sunny
but
was
it's
decorated as
blinking.
It's still on my list.
Have a nice holiday.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah, and also,
So how many deer do you, reindeer do you have?
sign is still
Oh, you have
there.
Yes, it is. I noticed that yesterday when I went by. If I'm
I think we
going
actually
to
have
redo
9.
another letter, a little more stern this time, and then bring it to the select board if I can't get that, but I am aware of it. Like I was on vacation for 2 weeks, so
Wow.
Yeah, got it, got it.
so, I went by yesterday.
It's been there for months.
No, it shouldn't, and I,
And, if I would have
Take the
I
American
get it.
Girl dolls off my hands.
well, I've had, you're not the only person who said anything, and like I said, I sent my first letter saying, hey, this needs to go. It didn't, now I'm gonna do the certified and the regular letter saying our next step is to take legal action.
Oh,
But I found something with 7 granddaughters.
oh my goodness.
So anyway, I've been
great.
waiting all
You
these
too.
years, so now it's good to get
Nice
that
to do
done.
that.
Yeah. Now we have to paint it.
I got a painting project coming up too.